Hello there. So, I've had some people ask me how I do my conversions to get video game models such as this one turned into VRMs. So, this is that tutorial. There are a list of things you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need your game model. You're going to need Blender. Before we even proceed further, make sure you have everything set up the way you want it to be. This includes renaming your bones, making your blend shapes, making sure you have everything, all of your textures and everything set up the way you want it. Essentially, you're done in Blender before you can even move on. So you're going to want to make sure that you have blend shapes for A, E, I, O, and then I'm using U from VRC. I use cats to help me with this, just because I also do stuff in VR chat. You can use cats if you want. I only really use it to help with the Visine creation, so I can have multiples if I need to like try and mix and match. It is fairly limited, so do with it as you will. But once you are done in Blender, select your model, go to Export, FBX, select your file, make sure you have path mode set to copy, and you have this little box checked. This will embed your textures into your model. This will become important in Unity, especially if you have a kind of higher fidelity model with multiple textures. So we're going to hit Export, and then that is going to be all we're going to be doing in Blender. Again, make sure you have everything else done. If there is a mistake that you notice, such as an issue with weight painting once we get to Unity, just simply go back to Blender, fix it, and then restart the process. So, Unity. We are going to be working in Unity version 2019.4.31 F1. And I am going to name this Snake Tutorial. So if you're going to be doing the AR kit, which is the extra blend shapes and stuff that is used in Apple's iOS for the Face ID and stuff like that, I have the AR kit on the model that you see in the corner that I am speaking through. There are resources you can find online that further illustrate what you need to do and how you should go about it. We will not be covering that today, but I will give you kind of like the way you would do stuff, saying if you had those blend shapes done already. So we're going to create this. Unity's going to open. It's going to do its thing. I am going to get my files set up. So I'm going to go and find my custom shader. But before that, I'm going to list off the things that we're going to be using. So, I mentioned a custom shader. I am going to be using Poyomi Toon Shader. You can use whatever shader you want. I am more familiar with Poyomi, and so Poyomi is what I'm going to be using today. I've used Poyomi for a lot of my VR chat projects. It's a pretty standard, ready to go shader. We're also going to be using UniVRM and the VSeeFace SDK. Get the latest versions. They will be linked below. Poyomi does have a free version if you are interested in using it. But they also have a Pro/Patreon version, which is the version I'm going to be using. So again, we're in Unity version 2019.4.31 F1. This is very important. This is actually the second time I'm making this tutorial because I goofed and used the 2020 version and wasted 2 hours of my life. Don't be like me. So what we're going to do first is we are going to import Poyomi first. Poyomi is very stubborn about being the first thing in the project. We're not going to be using it right away because there is a conversion process that we have to do, but it will come in handy later. So just import it. I'm going to go back and find my other packages while we wait for that to import. And really intense shaders like Poyomi that have lots of options will take a while to import. Just give it some time. All right, cool. Poyomi is done inserting itself. The next thing we're going to be putting in is UniVRM. The version I'm using is 0.99.4_8D33. It's probably not the latest version, but it is the version I have. The latest version should work regardless. And then you're going to potentially get this pop-up from this. It's essentially just recommending you change the color space to the linear, which you can go ahead and do. Alrighty, you can close that window, and then we're going to input the VSF SDK. Just go ahead and import that. I think there is an updated version of the SDK to the one I'm using. VSeeFace has only really done like simple bug fixes, so I have not really updated to latest SDK, latest version, but we're just gonna run with it. Alrighty, we're good. The next thing you're gonna do is you are going to import your model. So find where you saved it, and then just slap it in there. Now, we embedded the textures and stuff. Where are they, you may be asking? So what we're gonna do real quick is we're going to right click. We're gonna create two folders. We're gonna call one textures, right click, create folder, and then the other one will be named materials. We're going to click on our model again, go over to this materials tab up here, go extract textures, click on the texture folder, and that will get all of the textures into that folder. These are going to be the normal maps. Just hit fix now and Unity will classify them as normal maps. That's very important to do. Do not hit ignore. You're also going to extract the materials and just put them into the materials folder. And then we're going to click over to the rig section. Animation type is currently set to generic. We do not want that. We want it set to humanoid. It's going to be set to create from this model. We're going to hit apply. It's going to do its thing. And then we're going to hit the configure button. And then I'm going to move my model over slightly. So over here, we have our skeleton set up. You want to make sure you have everything corresponding to the whatever Unity says in this section. So shoulder, I have that set to this because of the way that this model is set up. If I put it to the shoulder I have here, it will break. I have done something really weird with this model. I tried to keep as much of the regular bones from the game as possible, just to kind of create a bit of less hassle for me. If it works, it works. I go by the philosophy, if it's held together by duct tape and it works, then so be it. But obviously try and have good bone structure if you can help it. If you're wanting to go through the extra trouble, it's much worth it. So I have leg, because I don't have a proper upper leg. I have knee here, which is supposed to be the lower leg. And then if I scroll down, I have the same thing. I want the right lower leg in the knee section. So hips, spine, chest, shoulder, upper arm, lower arm, wrist or hand, shoulder, upper arm, lower arm. Good. Cool. we're going to click this head section. This will bring up this. Eye, you want to make sure you have your neck, your head, your left eye, and your right eye. You do not need the jawbone. Some of these models will have jawbones to help with like lip sync and stuff. You do not need it. You do not need to put it in there. If you leave it in there, when you export as through UniVRM, you will get a notification saying that you may not get the desired results that you want. So it's best to just leave it off. So you're gonna click over here to muscles and settings to make sure everything is set up correctly and just hit apply. And then, where did he go? It's okay. He's just down here chilling. So this is essentially where you can test out your skeleton in Unity. Make sure everything works correctly. This is also kind of a good way to test to see if you have any obscure weight painting going on. You don't need any weird vertices doing whatever the heck they want. So as you can see, he's working fine. Scrunching up in a ball, going left, right, twisting around, hitting the gritty. But it looks great. Everything's working as intended, so we can just hit done. So what we're going to do next, we are going to go into our materials tab, and we're going to select all of these. This we are going to set not to our custom shader just yet. We are going to go down to the VRM section and select MTune. This is important. Do not skip and try and use your custom shader. You will not be able to export it as a VRM. That is what the VSF SDK is for. But you need to export it as a VRM first in order to get those VRM scripts in the proper place. Unless if you want to be sitting there adding them all manually, and you don't want that. We're lazy here. Let's go back to assets, import him in our scene, and he looks like garbage. That's okay. If you are okay with this unlit look, you can go ahead and play around with the materials and kind of just play with them the way you want. That's completely fine. But for this purpose, we're going to be using our custom shader. So what are we going to do? We are going to click on our model, go to VRM 0, go to Export, and it's going to require a title, version, and author. Do not worry about the thumbnail, we will deal with that later. So, title. I am going to name this Snake Tutorial _ VRM. Version 1.0, author, Brandy. If you don't want to put yourself as the author, you can just put a dash. It just needs something inputted into the field. This is for the avatar descriptor. And then this is also just like some permissions if you are like publishing this avatar publicly, stuff like that. Just like a general like what you can use this for, what you can't use this for, that kind of thing. But we're not going to worry about this because this is going to be used for personal use for now. If you want to do this and make it a public, you would probably want to mess around with these. So we're going to hit export. It's going to come up where we want to save this as. So we're going to put this in here. Snake Tutorial _ VRM. And that's going to export. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go into the asset folder. We're going to create a new folder, and I'm going to title it Snake Tutorial _ VRM. This is going to be the folder that our prefab and other folders are going to go into. So open that up, go to the VRM 0 tab, import from VRM, and grab your VRM. Gonna open it. It's gonna ask you where you want to put your prefab and other stuff. Click that folder we created, hit save, and then everything will pop up in here. Now, we can hide this guy. He is not useful to us anymore. I'm actually going to put him as a dash, and we're going to drag this guy in here. this is going to be the avatar we're going to edit. First things first, let's change the materials. So, if you are using your custom shader, materials, you can select all of these. I'm using Poyomi. I'm going to be using Poyomi 8.1, Poyomi Pro, and it's going to take a hot minute. This is going to be the time where you are going to be wanting to get familiar with your shader. Now, I have some settings I'm going to be putting this on. Now, he looks the same. That is because we have all of these different rendering presets. So say for like the hair and stuff, we're going to want to change that to transparent. I know this is hair. Make this a bit bigger. I know these are hairs. And then I believe this is the last hair. There. Now his hair and eyes can be seen. He still looks bland though. So I'm gonna do this through just one simple shader, and then I'm going to fast forward and then to kind of speed up the process, because I, as you can see, have a lot of materials to go through. And I am going to do this in a more realistic way. If you want to make this a toon-ish like, you can probably just leave it like this or use a toon shader. But for this, I'm going to be using realistic. So I'm going to select my face, or I guess his face, not my face. I'm going to change the lighting type to realistic. And it's going to freeze because I'm selecting like 5 shaders for the face. Change that to realistic. I'm also going to put on the stylized specular because we do have a specular map. I don't know if map is the correct word, more like a texture. I know what it looks like, so I'm just going to come into this Explorer and find it, and this is it right here. And so I'm going to change that to realistic, change that to add, and then I will copy the shading to these other facial textures. Facial materials, sorry. Shading. Now, if I say add a different directional light, let me move this over here. I'm actually going to change it to a spotlight. Just for purposes in terms of like showing off the shader. Now you can see that subtle shine going on. That is all of the specular map. That is the stylized specular going on. And I think that's neat. We're going to have more of that effect on this model in the clothes, on the hands, on the boots, and on the pants. There's also going to be some on the hair, but it's not going to be as noticeable. So we're going to turn off that directional light. And I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this. But before I do that, something else you can do if you have a model that has a lot of textures and stuff and you're not entirely sure what all goes where, you can always come back into Blender, go into the shading section, take a look at your node setup. If you're not familiar with the nodes, that's okay. We're simply just looking for these specular textures. So say for the hair. I have all of the materials linked to the hair over here. I just need to know what material to look for. And then in here, if I open this up, I get the name right here. So I can copy that. And this is for texture, the one that ends in 85. So if I go back into Blender, look for the one that ends in 85. That would be this one. I'm going to do the same thing. Stylize specular. I'm going to go into the specular map and just in that search, just paste that. Bada bing, bada boom. We're done. And that's how you're going to want to potentially do that if you have lots of textures like I do. Alrighty, so if we turn back on this directional light, we can see all of the different effects that are going to be going on. So let me make this bigger. I can turn up the intensity a bit more. Now, as we go across this, you can see that shine on that shirt. And then if we point this more this way and then down, extend the range, you can see that effect on the shoes. That's essentially all I wanted to show with that. So now that we're done with the textures and the materials, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be going to the Blendshapes folder. Once you open that up, you're going to click this blend shape. Do not touch anything else. You are going to ignore this neutral thing, this neutral blend shape clip. Don't touch that. Leave it alone. We're going to go to and we're going to make this little preview bigger. It's zoomed in, so if it's zoomed in like that, just zoom it out, and this is going to give you that preview of your model's face. Click this, scroll down, put in the corresponding blend shapes. We have I, U or O, E, and then just a regular O. There's also one for blink. And I'm going to do these guys. You can put whatever joy and fun mean to you. Adjust those accordingly as you see fit. These are mainly just like expressions. So let's say for joy, let's just make him smile. Weird seeing Snake smile, I know. Angry, even though he kind of has a case of resting bitch face, we're going to make him more angry. We're going to give him a slight frown. Sorrow. We have an expression for sad. I'm going to slightly use the blink and then put the frown on. And then fun, I have one with kind of some happy-ish eyebrows. I'm not going to do it too much. And just a slight expression. Look up, look down, look left, and look right. You can ignore. Do not touch those. We're going to go to blink left. Turn on blink left. Blink right. Turn on blink right. Now, if you are doing the AR kit and you have all of those extra expressions, what you will need to do is create those blend ships according to what the AR kit document says. And essentially just do the same thing we just did and turn on those expressions. Once you have all of the, I believe, 52 blend shapes on, you should be good to go with your AR kit. And that's essentially just how you set that up. Now, we are then done with the blend shape clips. Now, what we're going to do next, if you don't care about hair movement or spring bones, you can kind of move along, but if you want the eye movement, we're going to be doing this real quick. So, we're going to open up the armature in the hierarchy. We're going to find the head. Now click back on here. You're going to want to scroll down and find this VRM look at head script. That's what we're going to want. You're going to drag your head armature into the head section. And then we're going to take this main camera. We're going to, first things first, flip it around. Drag it back. And drag it up to the face. I'm going to go back to that, scroll down, put the main camera into the target. Now, what we're going to be doing now, we're going to draw some gizmos, make sure we have our left and right eye on. And then we're going to, first things first, save, because we've done a lot of work. Don't want to lose it. Don't want to make sure you lose everything just because of a random Unity crash. So make sure you save. And then we're going to enter the play mode. Now what we're going to be doing with this, we can minimize this, minimize this, minimize this. This is the one that we want. We want to be able to look at this. So we're going to put these down. And this is essentially going to be the degree mapping for how the eyes are going to be moving. If you're using realistic, there is a button to turn on and off the lights. So you can kind of have that realistic unlit look. I am only looking for this so I can move stuff and see the eyes properly. So what you're going to do is we're going to make sure we're in this tool to drag the camera back and forth. Now see, you can see his eyes slightly moving, but I think they can move a bit more. So what we're going to do, we're going to minimize those. We're going to come down here, move up the range of degree that his eyes can move. Now say if the camera's all the way over there, 50, I think this 51.1 is just enough. Now let me see about moving the camera the other direction. Yes, so I think that's a good view for how far his eyes should go in that direction. Get the camera back in the center. Let's go up. And they didn't move a whole lot, it looks like. So we can adjust that for the vertical up. I'm gonna adjust that slightly just because we don't want his eyes rolling into the back of his head. And then we're gonna take that and move that down. Now these didn't really move much at all. So back to the avatar, vertical down, just adjust how far you want them to go down. I think right there it looks good. Now, don't do anything just yet. Do not hit the play button just because we have all of these values put in. If you do that, you will lose all of this. What you're going to want to do to get these same values out of play mode, you're going to click these three dots in the corner, hit copy component, and then you're going to get out of play mode. Now that we're out of play mode, come back over here, click those same three dots, and then hit paste component values. That will give you the values we just did. You can uncheck draw gizmo. I just do that for me. You don't have to put it on if you don't want to. Now, put that back on. Now the next part we're going to do is we're going to do spring bones. Now, these spring bones are going to be located in this secondary area. So I only really want a few spring bones, mainly just on this like bang area. So that's what we're mainly going to focus on. So what we're going to do, I think I have them in groups. So let's say 2. So let me go into my hair all group. I have the bangs set to their own thing. So I'm going to put those in there. And then I'm also going to put the lower back hair. And then these will move as basically a single component. But what we're going to want to do first, before we do that, if you are doing hair, and especially if it is long hair and you're going to make it essentially go buck wild, you're going to want to put in a collider. So I'm going to come over here to the head. I'm going to put a component, type in VRM. I'm going to scroll down. We're going to look for the VRM Spring Bone Collider group. Click that. And we're going to set up, I'm going to set up two. One to cover the forehead area, the other to cover kind of that back neck area. And you're going to use this X, Y, and Z offset to just move it. Now, if we come back to the front, I want to make sure it's not completely going out of his head. That looks pretty okay. It's a bit forward, so we're going to move it back in the Z direction. And then I'm going to go into that other one, make it about the same size. Bring it up, just to kind of cover that back, like back of the neck area. Bring it down. Right about there, I'm going to say. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to close that, go back into our secondary, and then in the colliders, we're going to do, like, uncheck this, put in one, because we only have one set of colliders, and you're going to drag the bone that those colliders are on. So in my case, they are on the head, and so they are there. Now you can change this to how you would like, and how we're going to test this and get those values the way that we want them is we're going to put him into play mode again. Go into the scene. We're going to put in some values. I'm going to put the drag force to, I want to say about 0.35. I'm going to put the stiffness force, let's put that about 1.5. Let's grab our model and see how he moves. So I'm going to turn that off so we can see this better. And I think we're actually just going to leave that as that for now. If you want to further play with it, pause the video, finish playing with it until the way you like it. I am going to post the component values as I currently have them, and that's really all of the spring bones I need to add for now. So, what do we do now? We have added the spring bones, we've done the blend shapes, we've done the eye tracking. I believe the only thing that is left to do is export. So, you're going to click on your model, go into the VSF SDK tab right here, click Export Avatar Bundle. And we are just going to put this into my model folder. I'm going to change that VRM to VSF. And then this may take a bit to export. If you are using the custom shader and you have a whole bunch of different effects on there, it may take a minute. The VSF SDK allows you to do a whole lot more than just use a custom texture. So if you're really looking to get into the nit and gritty of it, please check out the documentation for it. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do with it. It is great. Now, what are we going to open this in? What we're going to be using is we're going to be using VSeeFace. VSeeFace is on that same place that we got the SDK from. Our export is complete. What we're going to be doing next, we're going to be going into VSeeFace. Going to pull this over here, full screen it. I'm going to get rid of my model so we don't have some VTuberception going on. So, welcome to VSeeFace. It's basic looking, but it's great. What we're going to be doing is so you're going to be on the main screen, which is this avatar selection screen. You're going to hit Add Avatar, you're going to find your model, make sure it is the one that is set to the VSF avatar format. And you will get this in here. Now, this is what it'll look like. But what happened to all of those nice shaders we used? They're still in there. What we need to do is we need to mess with the light setting. So, go into the settings, light settings. You can change the intensity and stuff of the sun to get that shine in there. And you can change the ambient. So let's make it kind of like a mid-tone. Let's go for a blue. And we can choose how intense this is, or how dark it is, or how light it is. So if you want just something kind of subtle, you can put it in that like nice middle zone. Something else, if you're going to be using kind of a more high fidelity model like this, I would personally recommend using the ambient occlusion. It will give you kind of some extra depth. You will have to play with the color, but I think it gives that extra depth and stuff that just kind of makes it pop a bit more. You do still have that extra shadow and stuff from the ambient. So, always that. There is also a bloom effect if you want to get that quality PS3 experience. And you can see even on that you kind of get that specular texture coming in. Yeah, if you lower the threshold, you can kind of see it coming in. So everything is still in there. It's just a matter of being able to put the correct settings on to see it properly. The shoulders, I believe, is a matter of my setup. There are some settings if you don't like this way that how far the shoulders or how far the arms are far apart. You're just going to want to go into general settings, look over here, and there's an arm angle slider. I believe you can put a custom pose. So if these are too stiff for you, you can create a custom pose in Unity with the Unity animator. I'm not going to be doing that today since this was just a basic tutorial, but there are plenty of VSF tutorials to kind of help you explore more of that if you're interested. But yeah, so I will say, this is not using my webcam. This is simply using my iPad through my either iFacial mocap, Face Motion 3D, or VTube Studio. You can use these to get that kind of smoother tracking. And if you're wondering about the different expressions we put on, I currently have expression detection set to none. If I turn that on to simple, it can kind of show up. I kind of have to really force it. There is an experimental expression detection, which essentially you click the button and it records your expression while you're doing that expression so that your camera and VSeeFace can get an idea of that expression. So if I stop recording neutral, go into fun, smile and talk, move your head around, that kind of thing, stop recording, hit calibrate. You can do the other ones, but as you can see, now it's kind of looking a bit more natural. And if the blend shapes are moving too quickly, there is a setting that you can use to kind of change that transition time. But yeah, you have completed the tutorial. You have successfully made your own video game VTuber model. I hope you don't do anything severely bad with this. And thank you for watching. I hope this helped a lot. I'm sorry if some stuff got confusing. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me or just at me on Twitter with questions. Or if you're in a server that I'm in, go ahead and hit me up on Discord and I can help you out. Thank you for watching and have fun creating your cursed content.